So my friends, in this video we'll be comparing two of the hottest TVs of 2020 so far. On the left is the LG CX OLED and on the right is the Samsung Q90T QLED. This is the same model as the Q95T, just without the One Connect box. Let's get started. Don't forget to hit the red button to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up and click the notification bell to get my next video first. Okay, so I have already done unboxing and setup videos on both of these TVs and I'll leave the links in the description for you. But I just want to pause for just 1 second. So what I'd like you to do is make a comment in the comment section now as to which TV you think that you will prefer. Then watch the video and see the comparison and then come back and just say whether you still feel the same or whether your opinion has changed, because it will be quite interesting to see if anyone's does. So the reason that these two TVs will be compared is because they're so similar in price. Now, the Samsung was actually $19.99 in the UK, but you could get £300 discount, which takes it down to $16.99, and the LG was $17.99 in the UK, and I think they're similarly priced in the US. So my friends, in this video we'll be looking at the design and features and specifications of both TVs. We'll look at the interface and operating system and how that runs. And we'll also look at the performance after adjusting so that you can see what we believe will be the best possible picture you can get. We'll then run a summary and conclusions of these TVs. Now, this isn't designed to say which one wins and which one is the best, but we will point out the positives and in some cases some negatives. So my friends, sit comfortably, get yourself a drink. This video will hopefully answer some of those questions you have. When it comes to design, there's no doubt the LG is a sexy looking TV. It really is quite beautiful to look at. It sits on a low stand, and for the purpose of these videos, both TVs will be on their stand. Now that stand is quite back heavy, and what I mean by that is it does have a protruding part at the back which keeps it very stable, but it does mean it's 26 centimeters or 10 inches from front to back, so bear that in mind depending on where you're going to position it. The model that I've gone for has got the slightly lighter silver base, but you can get a darker base also. It's super thin from the side and then widens out at the bottom. Now the Samsung, however, I think they've been really clever because this sits a lot further off of the base, and that is just enough space for a soundbar. So if you're looking at getting a soundbar and you're still wanting your TV on its stand, well, you can forget about that with the LG, but with the Samsung it will sit underneath perfectly. So if you are looking at getting a soundbar, you've got around 8.5 centimeters or 3.5 inches to play with. From front to back, this TV is also slightly shallower than the LG, at just under 9 inches, which is around 22 centimeters. The thickness of this obviously is slightly thicker, but at 3 centimeters, it's not that much thicker than the LG at the bottom. What you'll notice from both of these machines is the bezel around the edge is almost identical, it's super thin, and both of them look fantastic. Now when it comes to the connections on the back of the TV, you really do need to think not only about what your setup is now, but also what it's likely to be in the future, because I'm assuming your new TV you'll want to last for a few years. On the Samsung, for instance, you only have one port delivering HDMI 2.1, which is 4K at 120 Hz. Now, that may not be a problem if you've only got one console or you're only planning to ever get one console, but if, for instance, you had a PC and an Xbox and the new PS5, well then only one of those ports is going to allow that 120 Hz 4K gaming. All of the rest of the ports that you would expect to see on the TV are there, and there are no complaints at all. Now, it's a little bit confused over at LG. Although they do have all 4 of their HDMI ports 4K at 120, it has come out that that is not at full 48 gigabits per second, it's only 40. How that affects people, well, we'll probably find out with the new consoles. Now, I do think that the cable management system on the LG is definitely inferior to the Samsung. You literally just have this little casing here, which all of the cables can go into. Whereas over on the Samsung, you've got a full channeling system. The other advantage I think with the Samsung is it does have a plug-in power unit, whereas the LG is built in. It's 1.5 meters long, but it does mean that you can never extend it or buy a longer one because it's already built in. On to remote controls, and LG has the familiar Magic Remote, which, although it doesn't really look anything special, this is a really functionable remote. It works brilliantly, it's got some shortcut buttons on there as well, and absolutely everything that you need. Samsung have come in with two remotes. There's the sleeker version and also the more standard, but again, they both work very well. You can choose which one of these you want to use as your main remote, but you've got the option of a second. So there's not much to split it, but having the two options with the Samsung one, I guess, gives you a little bit more choice. As you would expect with most smart TVs, these have both got great interfaces where you can navigate between apps. One thing to mention, which I did a separate video about a few weeks ago, is at the moment, as of June 2020, LG do not have access in the UK to BBC iPlayer, ITV Hub, 4 On Demand, or even My5. And as we write, we have heard from LG to say that there's no licensing agreements in place. Hopefully this is something that will change. Now on the LG TV, that you do have a smart home dashboard, which I really like, and it's a great way to navigate between your different sources and also add extra smart things if you wish. In terms of other applications, you've got Netflix, Prime Video, Rakuten TV and Disney, as well as Apple TV. And you've got all of those on the Samsung, as well as all of your on-demand services. I do know that in different countries, some other on-demand services are missing, so you might want to check those out before committing to a purchase. And if that's something which is important to you, well then bear it in mind. In terms of the rest of the App Store, well, I think that they're very similar. I would say, however, that the navigation between the two, I prefer the Samsung one. The icons seem bigger, a little bit more information, and it just feels like a more pleasant experience. Now, loading applications in both of these TVs is super quick. Hardly anything between them, but I think LG just shades it. Okay, from Netflix to Prime Video, 1, 2, 3, go. Prime Video into Rakuten TV, 1, 2, 3, go. Rakuten TV back into Netflix, 1, 2, 3, go. Back into Prime Video, 1, 2, 3, go. Both TVs have what's called an ambient mode, which effectively is putting art onto your TV. Now, in my opinion, I think LG do a better job of what it displays, and because of the potential burn-in issue, it does rotate that image regularly. So obviously it's not retaining an image there for long. Whereas on the Samsung device, you don't have that same worry. So it means that you can have an image on there for some period of time, and it does actually look just like a standard picture. But I guess it's down to the individual which you would prefer, but they're both good functions and definitely worth having a play with. Okay, so it's time now to have a look at some of that video content. Now, both of these devices almost do the opposite type of thing when you first turn them on. So the Samsung will go into intelligent mode, which makes things over bright and a little bit unwatchable. And the LG puts everything into eco mode, which does the same, but for the different reason, makes everything too dark. It doesn't affect everything so much, as you can see with this gaming on the PlayStation 4. On the left, the LG actually looks quite natural, maybe slightly too dark, and the Samsung on the right a little bit blown out if you look at the clouds in the right hand corner, and that's purely down to settings. But when you play with those and make some changes, you can change all of those things, so make sure you spend a lot of time tweaking it. I did say in my individual review on the Samsung that I felt that that needed more changing out of the box. Here is a good indication of the black levels that you can achieve on the Samsung. We all know that on the OLED it's going to be a perfect black, and as you can see just above the earth there, perfect black on the left hand side. But I'm impressed with the Samsung and how black it goes, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see exactly what I mean by that. As you can see, it is just picking up a little bit of reflection in the room, but if you concentrate on the first quadrant just to the left, and I think it does a pretty good job. I'm really impressed with the black levels of this TV. So guys, I've now had a tweak with the settings on both images, and this is where I felt that I could get them both at their optimum. This is just standard TV through my Sky Q box, and I think it's doing a great job. It does a brilliant job. Both TVs do a great job at upscaling. This is almost indistinguishable. You definitely get to see that black level a little bit better on the OLEDs, but again, in some areas there's some vibrancy on the Samsung which you don't necessarily see on the LG. It really was quite surprising how close these TVs got. I do apologise for the slight bit of reflection on the Samsung. It was just I was restricted by the room that I'm in. But as you can see, these are both doing a pretty good job. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you surprised at how close these two are performing when watching just standard TV? Now obviously what we haven't got is a reference point to what it was actually like when someone was there filming, and I imagine that it's probably somewhere in between the two. You definitely see slightly more colour, the more blues on the left on the LG compared to on the right on the Samsung. But when you go to this next shot which is underwater, they are almost indistinguishable between the two. You wouldn't necessarily know which was which. Okay, we've switched into the PS4 now, and again on the left is the LG and on the right is the Samsung. Let me know what you think. I thought gameplay was really good. I didn't find any evidence of tearing. Now I know that on the LG some people are reporting raised black levels, but I think that's on the PS4 Pro or on the Xbox One S. But I haven't got either of those, so unfortunately I can't comment. Now it is quite amusing, after doing a few videos about these two TVs individually, you do get loyal customers for either the LG or the Samsung. And so I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are with these head to head. Do you think that there is a clear winner? Because I certainly don't. I think there's positives on one and there's positives on the other. I think in certain scenes the OLED and the darkness of those blacks definitely come into their own, but on others I really don't see that there's that much of an issue. Now obviously one thing that I will test in time will be burn-in, because that's something which obviously puts off a lot of people, and even LG on their little intro retail roll, they talk about that there is no burn-in possibility on the QLED, whereas LG obviously, hopefully there won't be so much of an issue this year, and I know that they do things which like pixel refresh and all of that to hopefully try and prevent it. But it's going to be interesting, and I will do a test in a month or so on the LG just to see whether that is becoming an issue. But what do you guys think of these two images? There's a little bit of me at this scene actually likes the one on the right slightly more. Now, as this little scene in The Crown shows you, the LG has Dolby Vision capability, but the Samsung doesn't, and likewise the LG doesn't support HDR10+, whereas the Samsung TV does. Now, from my experience of watching both of these TVs, I can't really tell whether one is better than the other, and so therefore I'm just going to sit on the fence and say I don't know. But what do you guys think? Do you think one of these is any better than the other? I think they look pretty much similar. Okay, one good way to test this is some nature and some 4K footage. Let's have a look at that now. And as you can see, they both, in my opinion, look incredible. If anything, I think the LG slightly shades it. And on this next shot, as you can see, again, it's probably down to the black levels. If I pause this and then zoom in, but guys, you know, I don't know if you only saw one of these, whether you would know 100% which was which. This is the screensaver from Apple TV, and again, can you really see a massive difference? One thing to mention, as you probably already know, is that on the Samsung there is an anti-reflection layer, whereas on the LG there isn't. As you can see my computer on some of those darker screens in the background, and I've got some little fairy lights around, as you can see, and they do definitely reflect more on the Samsung. So if you have got a lighter room where maybe you've got a window, then bear that in mind as well when choosing. But look at these pictures, they're fantastic on both machines. Here's some of my video footage now, and what I've done is I've pulled together some 1080p footage as well as some 4K footage, and again, both of these I think look pretty good. Very good in fact. Now, I particularly chose this video because I remembered it being very dark when I was filming these headphones, and I'm absolutely amazed at the quality on both displays, on both screens. It looks fantastic. But when I did the review on the Samsung, I did say I was really surprised at the black levels and how black it got, and I think that this video demonstrates that. We know that it's not quite as black because it can't be, because it's creating black, whereas the OLED isn't, but my word, it's doing a pretty good job, and it's getting very, very close. Okay, so to give you some other information about some of the things that these sets do or don't do, HDR10 is supported by both sets. HDR10 Plus is only supported by the Samsung set. There is no Dolby Vision on the Samsung, but there is on the LG. They both support HLG, and you have HDMI 2.1, but as we mentioned, only one port on the Samsung. In terms of sound, they both support ARC and EARC via one HDMI port. They both have Dolby Atmos via True HD, again via the EARC, and 5.1 Dolby Digital, both via optical and also via ARC. So my friends, it's now time for my summary and conclusion. Now, this for me isn't necessarily about choosing a winner, because I do think that you as individuals will know your use for your TV and will probably be edging towards one or the other. What I would say is that they clearly, hopefully after this 15-minute period, have demonstrated that they're both incredible TVs. One thing to bear in mind if you are on a budget is that both of these manufacturers did some fantastic TVs last year. The LG C9 is incredible, as is the Samsung Q90R. So if you are looking at saving a little bit money, then you may want to edge towards those older models. Both of these two things are great. They are incredible devices, and the technology packed into them are amazing. If deep blacks, HDR and gaming is your bag, well then you'll go for the LG. If, however, you want the bright vibrancy of the Samsung and you want the reassurance that you're never ever going to have a burn-in problem, well then that Samsung may be the one for you. But either way, you're going to be getting great TVs. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Have your views changed from right at the beginning of this video? Is one TV performing slightly better than what you thought it was going to? Or is it as you predicted? Let me know in the comments, guys. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please consider giving it a thumbs up if it has been helpful. And if you're not already subscribed, then hit that red button to do so. And I really do look forward to seeing you on the next video.